The Singaporean Prime Minister wants vaccine rates in both countries to be higher before this is given the green light. Currently, Michael McCormack, 2.6% of Australians are fully vaccinated. In Singapore, it's 33%. When is it going to happen and how?
Well, I understand that the Prime Minister's had productive talks, and as has my department, with officials in Singapore. We've got that travel bubble with New Zealand, and of course at one stage it was one way, now it's two way. And that's because we've had low case rates. That's because we've had a low death toll. And we will continue to, of course, make sure that the vaccination strategy is rolled out across the country, 5.6 million doses, 5.6 million vaccinations. And we'll continue to work on a collaborative and cooperative association with Singaporean officials to make this happen.
Well, we can't travel, though, until we get the vaccination levels up. If only 2.6% of Australians are fully vaccinated, surely this will not be likely until next year.
Well, indeed, and that's why we urge and encourage Australians to get out and get their jabs, get their first jabs, then follow it up with their second vaccination. This is so important, and as the Victorian outbreak has shown, that has led to a peak now in people going and getting their vaccines, a record number yesterday, and 998,000 vaccinations over the past 8 days. This can't be any simpler. Get out, get your vaccines, get that jab and do the right thing, not just for yourselves and not just for your own families, but indeed those strangers you will potentially never meet. But you're doing the right thing by yourself and your country. It's so important.
There's currently the ban on international cruise ships. Yesterday it was extended for another 3 months to September 17. Here we are talking about travel bubbles with Singapore before our cruise industry even has some sort of certainty or pathway. How is that fair?
Well, we will continue to do what's best for Australians and the nation, and we will take the best possible medical advice in doing that. And we make no apologies for making sure that we keep Australians safe. We make no apologies for putting the health interests and outcomes of Australians first and foremost. And yeah, these are difficult times, and that's why we've provided such enormous support to the transport sector, indeed to every industry, to make sure that we get them as best we can and keep those jobs through this global pandemic. And let's be honest, this global pandemic is still raging around the world. We've done very well thus far, and we will continue to place that health expert advice first and foremost in every measure that we undertake.
Are you worried, though, about the uptake in the vaccine? We saw yesterday another death from AstraZeneca, and while that's incredibly rare, are you worried about confidence when you see, for example, Anastasia Palaszczuk this week getting the Pfizer instead of AstraZeneca?
Well, that was a matter for the Premier, and I understand she wanted to go to Tokyo for the Olympics and push the Queensland bid for the 2032 Games. I understand that, and of course the time between Pfizer vaccinations is much shorter than that between AstraZeneca, but that was a matter for the Premier, and I appreciate she can make that individual decision on her own, and she did. But I had my AstraZeneca shot on Monday, and I urge and encourage Australians to do the same. We need those vaccination rates up. As I say, nearly a million have been vaccinated over the past 8 days. We need that to indeed increase over coming days and weeks and months.
The Prime Minister has flown or flying to the UK ahead of the G7. There's been a lot of concern, particularly from the West Australian Premier Mark McGowan, about the language being used by Scott Morrison when it comes to China. Has Australia been too harsh in its commentary?
We'll always place national security at the foremost. The Prime Minister obviously understands just how important world trade is. He gets that, and we want to continue, obviously, to trade with our largest trading partner. But indeed, we always place our sovereignty and our national interests first and foremost, and that's what we'll continue to do, and that's what Prime Minister Morrison will do when he's on the world stage. And indeed, Australia's values and principles are very respected by our partners all around the world, as they should be.
Just finally, the Gippsland area is currently suffering major flooding. Have you spoken to local MP Darren Chester, and what's the latest on the ground?
Oh, indeed I have, and he tells me that up to a dozen homes have been flooded in Traralgon. He's very worried about the Thompson River, of course. I see that we've sadly lost 2 people. These storms have been terrible. They've created such a lot of damage, and farmland-wise, a number of fences have been taken away. So I've messaged James Merlino, the acting Premier in Victoria. We stand ready to provide any assistance that is necessary. But Darren's obviously out on the ground and talking to people and helping with what needs to be done as far as the mop-up is concerned, and we'll continue to monitor the situation.